Majid Nawaz, author of Radical, My Journey Out of Islamist Extremism. As the title of his book suggests, he has unique insight into the world of religious extremism. Also, Christian Amanpour, Andrew Sullivan, Charles Blow from the New York Times are back as well. You were arrested, you were imprisoned in Egypt, and it's really when you were in custody in Egypt that you began to change. You began to change your mind.
This is a crucial point, and it comes back to this point of humanitarianism. I was radicalized because of what I witnessed in Bosnia with the Srebrenica massacre, and my belief at the time that nobody was there to help and intervene on behalf of the Muslims in Bosnia. My exit from the radical group that I joined was when Amnesty International adopted me as a prisoner of conscience in Egypt and on principle began campaigning for my release despite knowing that I believed them to be my enemy. And I've written in my book that where the heart leads, the mind can follow. And it was Amnesty's humanitarian intervention on a micro level for me that led to my journey. Now, I'm somebody who, whereas before I was fighting democracy, I'm now standing for Parliament in the UK for the 2015 general elections. If we can replicate that experience that happened to me on a micro level, on a macro level, say for example in Syria, then we can go some way to stemming the flow of fighters that are joining Jabhat al-Nusra.
And you go out and you talk to people who held the same ideas that you held and try to convince them, try to kind of hold it up to logic.
Yeah, I mean, when I left the group, I basically decided to challenge the former ideology, to challenge what I now call the Islamist ideology. And I go to countries like Pakistan, I go speak to the students on the ground. I visited the city where Malala Yousafzai was shot, for example, and we organized a big debate there, and challenging the Taliban and discussing the causes of extremism. I'm attempting to generate alternative discourse around this whole agenda.
May I ask you, what has happened to your faith in that period?
It's very possible, and in fact the majority of Muslims in this world are Muslims and have no track whatsoever, not just with terrorism, but with the politicized version of Islam that I refer to as Islamism. And that's briefly defined as the desire to impose any given interpretation of the religion over society. Right. Most Muslims in the world, the vast majority of them, are of the faith variety rather than the ideological
But in
variety.
most Muslim societies, the notion of a separation between religion and politics is really not understood or even accepted, let alone embraced, right?
I wouldn't put it that simply. I think that's of sort of modern times. That's the way in which it's been going, because the most dominant voice, those who are shouting the loudest, are those who adopt this ideology of Islamism. If you look at the history, just very briefly, look at the history. Actually, Islam has been unique in that sense that it's never had a clergy. It's only with modern Islamism, the Iranian Revolution, for example, was unique that it reintroduced the idea of a politicized clergy that were ruling in God's name. Whereas before Khomeini, the Shiite Muslims, or 20% of the world's Muslims, believed that no man had the right to rule in God's name until the Messiah returned. As for the 80% who are Sunnis, they've never had a clergy for their entire history. And so modern-day Islamism is attempting to bring about the very thing it despises, which is Western Catholicism before the Reformation. I refer to Islamism as the bastard child of colonialism. Frankly, that's what it is. So modern-day Islamism is attempting to bring about the very thing it despises, which is Western Catholicism before the Reformation. Modern-day Islamism is attempting to bring about the very thing it despises, which is Western Catholicism before the Reformation. Modern-day Islamism is attempting to bring about the very thing it despises, which is Western Catholicism before the Reformation. Modern-day Islamism is attempting to bring about Western Catholicism before the Reformation. Modern-day Islamism is attempting to bring about Western Catholicism before the Reformation. Modern-day Islamism is attempting to bring about Western Catholicism before the Reformation. 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 Catholicism. 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 Modern-day Islamism is attempting to bring about 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 Catholicism.